Doctors could be on the brink of a breakthrough.
Migraines.
How to control them. Tame a migraine.
A severe migraine.
Throbbing, recurring headaches.
Given all the noise, navigating the migraine experience can be confusing and scary, but you do not have to do it alone. Welcome to the Migraine Guy Podcast, the official podcast of themigraineguy.com and theheadachreview.com. Now, here's your host.
What is up, pod people? It's Kevin here, the Migraine Guy, bringing you the first podcast of April. Last month, I do apologize for only getting one podcast out in the entire month of March. I am going to try to do better. Last month ended up being quite busy towards the second half of the month, and it is migraine related, so I will share what happened. So we have a family friend whose father died a number of years ago, about 3 years ago, and she and her family are from Thailand, and about 3 years after the death, they were going to have a huge memorial service. The 3-year time frame is not essential to why they were having the memorial service. It has to do with finances and stuff, because the tradition in the village that she's from, that her father was from, who died, was to save up money, be able to provide a big party for the village, and remember the deceased person. And that takes time to save up that kind of money. So they had it 3 years after, and we were invited. So we went. This is now about 2 weeks ago, and I was very excited. Obviously, never been to Thailand, never been to Southeast Asia at all, but I was also very, very worried, both because of the temperature issues and the kind of just the what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of inconveniences associated with going to different countries, especially countries that are a little poorer than yours. Not because I'm trying to be some sort of a Western person who needs to have running water or a particular kind of toilet in order to be comfortable. Because I was really worried about what would happen if I got a migraine. I couldn't really escape to a cool, dark room. Couldn't really bring any of my ice devices with me because they wouldn't last long in the heat. And so I was a little worried, but also felt obligated to go, and I've seen a pleasant reduction in the overall migraine pain that I get with my tizanidine, with the muscle relaxer. And so I thought, if we're going to do this is as good a time as any. And since it did coincide with their family's memorial service for the deceased father, I thought, we really should go if we can. So we did, and it was pretty good. The funniest part about the trip, migraine related, would be that lots of people were coming from all over Thailand for this memorial service, and one lady came from Bangkok who was titled a master masseuse and kind of a big deal in the massage world in Thailand. And someone mentioned to her that I get migraines, and she immediately demanded that she be able to give me a massage, and guaranteed. She said she said in Thai, someone translated to me, the English translation was that she guaranteed that if her massage did not stop my migraines, that she would quit massage therapy. She said it would take 1 or 2 times only, and then I would be done with migraines. So, of course, immediately skeptical. Kevin says, well, it's very nice of you to want to offer this, but I'm of course not going to hold you accountable to such a demand, because I know this massage isn't going to fix my migraines, but it was a fine massage. It was like the first massage I'd ever really gotten. It was pretty intense. She was at times digging elbows and fingertips into weird parts of my neck and back and shoulders. And it was fine, but a couple days later I had a pretty rough migraine. It was about a level 6. Thankfully, we had gone to a different family member's house to stay, and they had AC in one room, so I was able to kind of hide out in that room and just wait out the migraine pain. But so it was just a fun, kind of funny experience. Let's see. I'm going to save the last bit of migraine news for the end of the show, just because I don't want this intro to drone on too much longer. Definitely want to get back into podcasting weekly for you. Last month we had 1,000 downloads of the podcast, even though I only put out one episode of the pod. And so the demand for this podcast is there. And so I definitely want to make sure that I provide the content that I know that you want. So that's going to be what's going to be. Wow. That is my goal for the next year really is to just pump out weekly content, both on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. Once summer starts, I'm going to be able to devote a lot more time to editing videos, recording videos, and putting up the podcast, as well as the stuff I do on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other places. And so lots of cool stuff to expect. If you're new to the podcast, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. Hope you like this content enough to do so. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate a review on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you are listening to this podcast on. So that being said, that's kind of my intro. I'm still on the tizanidine. As I said, I'm going to be doing that probably into maybe throughout the summer, since it's working really, really well. That in conjunction with 500 milligrams of naproxen has kind of taken care of the brunt of my migraine pain. I still get bad ones, and I still get basically one every other day, but the amount of pain is heavily reduced. The kind of pressure that I get in my jaw and my eyes and my head, the kind of intense pressure that is kind of a secondary symptom to the pain, still creeps up. The muscle relaxer doesn't really seem to alleviate that, but if I'm only getting 50% of the symptoms, that still is a kind of a success story for the tizanidine. So definitely happy with that. In fact, I have to go pick up my renewed prescription of it today, so I cannot forget to do that. That being said, now let us move on to some migraine news. All right, this week's bit of migraine news has to do with something that I brought up in a YouTube video last year, but it has to do with the Migraine World Summit. If you're not at all familiar with the Migraine World Summit, and it's understandable if you're not, because this is only the third year that they are doing this, it is an online summit where Migraine, again, and a number of other big migraine-oriented websites and outreach places, in conjunction with I think some headache organizations like the International Headache Society or the American Foundation for Migraines put together, kind of a big fund and bring in a bunch of different experts and researchers from around the world to be interviewed about a particular migraine topic, and then all of that content is put online for free. Now, it isn't free forever. It's free for particular days that the summit is going on, and so if you are interested in a particular speaker, you need to do a few things, one of which is register. In the show notes below, I'm going to put a link to the registration site. It's entirely free. You just put in your email, and then every day of the conference they will send you an email letting you know what today's topic is, who today's speakers are, and the links to their videos, and you can access them for 24 hours and watch them. Then after that 24 hours, the next day comes up, and then the previous days is no longer accessible. So you do need to kind of watch it the day of. Otherwise, they do have a pricing breakdown of how you can get different videos, or all of the videos, or just a handful of the ones that you want, I think. So you'll have to check all of that out. But for each of the day's speakers, they do look like they're going to be pretty interesting. If you caught last year's Migraine Summit, they're going to have some repeats from last year. They're going to have David Dodek, the director of migraine program at the Migraine Clinic, or at the Mayo Clinic, excuse me. They're going to have Peter Goadsby from the King's College in London, but they're also going to bring in a lot of new people who were not featured in last year's summit, and they have different topics assigned to them. For example, they have all sorts of cool things that kind of branch out, not away from migraine, but bring in various disease experts who can talk about things that overlap with migraine. For example, they have Gretchen, I'm going to butcher her last name, but Tyjan. She's a neurologist from the University of Toledo, and she's going to be talking about body pain, allodynia, and fibromyalgia. And then they have people who are going to be talking about TMG and jaw-related issues, as well as a host of other things. So this tends to be a more research and science-driven summit. There was another summit last year. I don't know if you caught it. I think it was called the Headache and Migraine Summit for the World or something like that, and they had a lot of supplement recommendations and a lot of people who had their own ebooks about different migraine treatments without a ton of data and research behind their claims. The Migraine World Summit, is very much oriented around what doctors are seeing both in their clinical practice as well as in their research. And so that's the kind of information you like, then this summit is definitely something that you will want to sign up for. Like I said, it's entirely free to sign up, and it's entirely free to watch during each day of the summit. And then if you want to purchase something afterwards, you can, of course, do that. But you can watch it for free the days that the summit actually is going on. Speaking of the days that the summit is actually going on, it is going to be this month in April. And I had the dates up here. And where did they go? It's going to be April, I want to say 18th. And yep, starts April 18th. And it goes through the 26th. So every day there will be new videos that you can watch from the various people who they have brought in to talk about a given migraine topic. And so if you work during the day and you're worried you're not going to be able to see it during the day, you can come home, and since there's a 24-hour access period to the videos, you can watch whoever you want to watch then. And if you're like me, you're going to want to watch all of them, so that, involves a little bit more planning in order to get all of the content in, but it's usually doable since it looks like they're having 4 speakers a day. So typically the talks are about an hour, so that's about 4 hours of each day that I will be allotting to watch it. If you are a member of the Facebook support group that I run, the Migraine Guy support group over on Facebook, last year we tried to do some sort of discussion about the day's videos, given the way that Facebook had organized the groups. There were like little events and discussion sections within the group that you could kind of devote to a given topic. So we'll probably do something like that again. So if you need a support group, or you're already in the support group and want to be part of the conversation, make sure to check that out. But yeah, like I said, it's free. You can watch it. You can buy it if you want to, but you do not have to. And let's see, the 2 people who host the summit, one of which you're probably very familiar with, Paula Dumas. She is the not exactly what her title is at Migraine Again, but she's a big wig over at Migraine Again. She also hosts the Migraine Again podcast. So she's very very vocal in her advocacy for migraine issues. She's very well informed, and she does a great job at organizing these kind of events, because this is the only event of its kind, and it's due in large part to her organization. So big shout out to her and thanks to her. Not sure if there's anything else to say about this, but I want to hear what you're excited about. They were asking a couple weeks ago for particular topics to be submitted for people to talk about in the summit, but they've closed that. It looks like they have everybody's assigned topics now. But I want to know what you're excited about. Take a look at the page, at the speaker page, find out who's going to be talking about what and what you're excited about, and let me know. That way we can talk about it after it occurs and see if you got out of it what you wanted, if you were disappointed, or if you're very, very encouraged by what was said in the talk that you're excited about. So just hit me up on social media. Check out the Migraine Guy on whatever platform you like, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. I'm all over it. That being said, let us get to a word from our sponsor. Do your migraine attacks have you worrying about being able to get your work done? Here's a time when a migraine attack interfered with my job that you can view by heading over to notimeformigraines.com. That's notime, the number 4 migraines.com. And you can learn more about migraine attacks there, as well as how they have affected my life. This week's migraine tip of the week has to do with a supplement that I'm going to be introducing as an abortive for my migraines, and give it a trial run based on some research that I ran across a few weeks ago. The supplement that I'm looking at is ginger, and ginger is it's the same kind of thing that you use in your cooking, and has been used, for over 2,000 years as a natural remedy for nausea, diarrhea, upset stomach, a digestive aid, all sorts of things like that it's very well known for. But in regards to a migraine abortive, there has been some research pushed out in the last few years, probably about the last 10 years. I think the first study I looked at was from 2006, and then the other one was from somewhere in the early 2010s. But both studies that I was looking at did show a very, very impressive amount of pain reduction as an abortive for migraine sufferers. There was one study where the patients reported some pain relief after 2 hours of taking a certain milligram dosage of ginger, and then a different study which, provocatively said that there was complete freedom from pain at 2 hours. And in the first case, the sum relief was 65% of of the participant base, whereas the placebo group had 36 claim entire pain relief, partial pain relief. And in the second group, 19% said that they had freedom from pain, whereas the placebo group only had 7%. And so it doesn't seem to be the kind of placebo effect that double-blind studies want to filter out. And so that's very, very promising as a way for migraine sufferers to add a fairly low risk abortive into their migraine treatment plan. Now, how does it work? Well, there are a number of substances in ginger. I think there's over 200 substances in its oils alone, which contribute to its very, very diverse abilities as a pain reliever, as a nausea aid, et cetera, et cetera. And the research has not really looked at which compounds within the ginger are the ones doing the work. But none of that really matters because ginger, is pretty easy to get a hold of, and we don't really need to know which particular substance in its oils are the ones that are going to be doing the work. What we care about is getting ginger into our system to stop the pain. Now, there are a variety of formulations of ginger that you can buy. Of course, if you've gone to the grocery store, you've seen fresh whole ginger root. You may have seen it in powder form, ground up. You may have found tablets. If you went to a supplement store, they have chewable forms. They infuse tea with ginger. They have the oil that you can buy, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a variety of different ways to get ginger. Now, most of the studies that I looked at did use either powder or tablets or capsules as the way to get the ginger into the patient's system. And it was usually somewhere in the few hundred milligram range, something like 300 to 400 milligrams of ginger. But of course, you want to start slow with any sort of new supplement that you're going to be introducing into your system. Not least of which, not because we're necessarily concerned about getting poisoned or anything by ginger, but the ways in which it can affect your system can be very, very intense if you go from moderate to no ginger ingestion in your diet to now putting hundreds of milligrams of pills into your body. And some of the basic side effects of ginger could be gas, belching, heartburn, nausea, irritation, or maybe kind of a nasty taste in your mouth. And so going slow when you're introducing it into your system and finding where the pain relief coincides with the particular amount of ginger is the goal when you're introducing any new supplement into your migraine protocol. But the interesting thing is that it is basically low risk unless you're pregnant, unless you already have gallstones or ulcers or maybe some sort of bowel disease, and ginger may increase the risk of bleeding when taken with blood thinners. And so if you fall into any of those categories, as with any sort of new supplement that you're going to introduce to your migraine regimen, always talk it over with your doctor. Make sure that they're aware of everything that you're doing, so that if they are aware of some sort of worry about how it's going to interact with something else that's going on in your body or with another medication that you're taking, you definitely want their eyes and their expertise in this area. But the idea is pretty simple, right? You notice that you're starting to get a migraine, you grab your ginger and take it, and hopefully within a couple hours you'll see a pain reduction. And if you don't, then you're no worse off than you were before. But at the very least, now we're using some research to filter out which supplements might be good for which kinds of migraine pains and what you can expect. So if you take ginger within about 2 hours, you hopefully will see some pain reduction, if not entirely removing the migraine pain. And so I know that sometimes the idea of taking a triptan is just not really something I'm at all a fan of. Maybe I need to drive home from the city where I teach, which is about an hour away. I can't take a triptan and just cross my fingers and hope that I don't get the kind of intense dizziness that very often follows with that, because then I can't drive, and then I'd be kind of trapped in the city away from home. And ginger, on the other hand, is going to have very, very low risks in this area, and if it does help even just 10% of the time or 50% of the time, that is going to be 10 or 50% of the time that I can continue to live my life pain-free, or at least with much, much less pain, manageable pain. So that's the kind of supplement stuff that I'm going to be incorporating as an abortive into my migraine regimen. I want to hear what yours are, though, and if you've tried ginger and have seen any positives or negatives, or just nothing, if it didn't help at all. So hit me up on social media, as I usually say. Let me know what your experience is. If you have a particular brand or particular formulation that you like, let me know also, because sometimes in the United States anyway, what the supplement bottle says is not what you're actually getting, and so definitely want to get, not give money to bad companies like that. So if you have a particular brand that you know is very reliable, let me know that also. If you want to help keep everything that the Migraine Guy does free, then you can become a patron over at the website patreon.com. That's Patreon.com. Patreon lets people contribute funds to other people whose work they value. Becoming a patron does things for me, such as allowing me to buy new products so that I can do product review videos so that you know whether or not a given migraine product actually works before you buy it. It also helps me do things like upgrade the microphones and cameras for both the YouTube channel and this podcast. And more importantly, it helps me be accountable to you, my migraine community. You can pledge as low as $1 a month if you want to, and every single dollar does help. Just head over to patreon.com/the migraine guy to become a patron today. All right, that is going to be it for the show, basically. I've got something exciting to say, though. The Miles for Migraine organization, the nonprofit that does these kind of charity walk or race events in order to raise funds to donate to places like the Migraine Research Foundation, they are having a walk/run, not this weekend, which would be the 7th and 8th of April, but next weekend, the 14th and 15th of April. They're having an event in Chicago, and it's looking like I'm going to be able to go to that. Now, I'll only be able to be there for Saturday, the actual day of the walk/race, but if you are in the area, if you are going to be there, I will be there. You can meet the Migraine Guy. I don't think I'll be doing any running. I'm not a huge runner, but if they had a deadlift platform, maybe I'd get on that. But I'll be doing the walk. They have a bunch of different lengths that you can walk or run. So if you're going to be in the area and are going to be participating in this event, you can, of course, run the 10K, run the 5K, or walk. And if you want to chat with me, talk with me, request some content, you want me to do a video about a particular issue, or you want me to do a podcast on a particular topic, you can, of course, ask me to do so there. Or if you just want to come hang out and talk, let me know what your migraine situation is in history, and I will happily let you know about mine. I like meeting new people and all that kind of cool stuff. A good way to see migraine sufferers and interact with them outside of kind of the normal social media way that I interact with migraine sufferers, which tends to be a lot of typing. There isn't, usually any face-to-face contact. So I'm very excited to be able to go do that. Now I need to finalize a couple details. I'm about 95% sure that I'm going to be going to the Miles for Migraine in Chicago next weekend, but there is that 5% where maybe something's going to interfere, but it doesn't seem like it. So that's pretty cool. I've been wanting to go to one of these for a while. They've had some in the Midwest before, but living in Nebraska and being, in grad school and all that normal life stuff, I haven't been able to go. But if I can get all the, I's dotted and T's crossed, I should be able to go next weekend. So it's going to be pretty cool. Let's see, what else is going on for me? Yeah, not much. I'm just winding down. Our semester here in Lincoln is going to be over in 4 weeks. So I just have some grading to do after that, and then the summer is going to finally be here, and I can be done with this kind of commute back and forth to Lincoln 4 times a week, as well as kind of the stress associated with being a teaching assistant and needing to do all of the particular grading things, and just kind of hopefully get that stressor out of my life so that my migraines can reduce a little bit to back where they normally are, because the stress seems to be the only thing that has increased, and that has correlated with an increase in my migraines this semester, though the tizanidine is helping quite a bit. And then I don't know exactly what the protocol is going to be, what my treatment option is going to be over the summer and fall, since I won't have the immediate stress of driving, an hour one way, so 2 hours every day, 4 days a week, just to get to work and then do actual work. Hopefully I'll be able to try a couple more migraine medications, preventative stuff, prophylactic stuff, and maybe start talking to the neurologist about Botox. I've been waiting on the Botox stuff, though, just because insurance wants me to go through the normal migraine medical medication stuff before they would approve Botox, because Botox is a little more expensive. It's not I don't know, it's still kind of that like new thing where insurance companies are a little hesitant to cover it because, at least my insurance company is a little hesitant to cover it because they, want me to use the cheaper stuff that's been around for a lot longer than try a new thing that is more expensive. So, typical insurance nonsense, but hopefully all that stuff can get cleared up over the summer. So that's kind of where it's at. I hope this podcast was good for you. Hope it was worth the wait. Definitely will be getting one out for you next week as well, and hopefully I can keep the weekly stuff coming, as I said in the intro. If you need a support group, I'm just going to close out with my normal spiel here. If you need a support group, if you're feeling isolated, if listening to this podcast and maybe a couple others is really the only interaction you have with a fellow migraine sufferer, it doesn't have to be that way. If you're on Facebook, you can just search for the Migraine Guy support group. We're about to hit 1,200 members, and that's a very selective 1,200. We don't allow just anybody in because there are lots and lots of people out there that want to scam you, lots and lots of people out there that want to slap the word cure or natural onto some sort of migraine ebook or migraine supplement and just take your money and run with no real ability to guarantee its effectiveness. And that is the kind of stuff that we filter out in our group. So if you need a group, if you need a place where you can just vent, if you need a place that's safe, it's a closed group, which means people outside of the group cannot see what you type. So if you're, typing stuff that's sensitive because of work-related stuff or relationship-related stuff or whatever, you don't have to worry about anybody else seeing the content that you type for the group. So it's a great group. I love it. Lots of interactions there daily. Lots of good online friendships have been formed there. So if you need a group and you're feeling alone, you can join that, because the ultimate mission of the podcast, of the YouTube channel, of everything that the Migraine Guy does is for you to know that you are not alone.